I'm pretty sure there's only lava and acid.
Hey, welcome to episode 192 of Front Seat Gamer. I'm Nick. I'm here with Blake.
Hey.
And Paul.
Hello.
And special guest Dameo. Welcome to the podcast, Dameo.
Hello.
Hi. You're a game designer at GGG Games.
I certainly am.
Yes, so you work with Blake and Paul. And you were, I guess, in a sense, a replacement of mine.
Yes.
We'll say that. We'll say that.
Yep.
Well,
Yeah, we'll say the
I would
improvements.
say upgrade.
Yeah.
I didn't want to say it, but I was thinking it.
We were all
so-
thinking it. Well, welcome. We've got you on today to talk about a game. We've had a few listeners, or at least one listener.
Yes, one listener.
Okay, one listener message us, comment us about the game is Noita. And my understanding is you know that game quite well.
I've clocked up like 400 hours-ish in it so far.
Okay.
It's my favorite audiobook game now. So I just
wow.
listen to a lot of audiobooks and I
Right.
just put it on and play
Yeah.
and then
Wow.
it takes a lot of the frustration out of some of the deaths. And you're
Nice.
just concentrating on something else. But
Uh-huh. So it was on sale a week or two ago.
Yeah.
I bought it.
I bought it.
Yeah, I got it as well.
We all got it. This is
Yeah.
highly unusual for this podcast. You probably don't listen because nobody does. But if you do, you might know that the odds of all of us having the same game are near zero. And I don't know why that is.
One of the last times it happened was with Firewatch.
And that was with Severn.
That was with the Savern.
Or was it Paul? No, I'm kidding. It was obviously Severn. I'm pretty sure we've all had...
we have, but I remember that being
Yeah.
a big moment.
That was one we all got specifically for the podcast.
Yeah.
Okay, Noita. I played a bit of it. It's a roguelite. I would say roguelite, right? Not roguelike. I mean, roguelike, I feel,
I'd
is
say
like...
more roguelike.
Okay.
You don't really keep... there is some progression between runs, but it doesn't
Yeah.
really impact the
That's
runs.
true. That's true.
Yeah,
You
so
unlock
what-
stuff.
What progression is there between runs? Because I didn't get very far, but from what I saw,
You unlock
I didn't
see
spells, right?
If you find the orbs of knowledge throughout the world, you will unlock spells through them.
Oh, okay.
There's a few secrets throughout the game that you can unlock some additional spells for. They're generally
yep.
the ones that do weirder and wackier things, like the divide by spells and.
Explain?
So a divide by spell, there's divide by 10.
Yeah.
It gives you 10 copies of it, but it actually it reduces the damage per each copy. And you can do a divide by 10, divide by 4, and then a spell, and
Yeah.
then you will have 40 of that spell going out. But they may do 0 damage because you removed all the damage from them.
I see.
But then you could do something like there's a modifier called spells to power. So you can then turn those 40 projectiles into power for a different spell. And then that thing will do a lot more damage.
Okay,
So there's
okay.
some crazy stuff out there.
So-
it seems I've barely scratched the surface of spellcrafting.
Yes.
So I think first off we should describe what
Yes.
you're actually doing in this game
Yeah,
because
yeah,
man, does that sound insane?
Picture Terraria, where you can dig and sand can collapse. That's like a thing in Terraria, right?
Yeah.
Except that instead of it being grid based, it's pixel based, and everything reacts with everything in a fairly naturalistic
And
way.
all of it is trying to kill you.
Yeah.
It's
All of the time.
all hostile.
The only thing that's not trying to kill you is gravity.
Yes, there's no fall damage.
Oh yeah,
I did.
That's true. Yeah.
It took me ages to feel gutsy enough to test that out.
I mainly realized this because I played Terraria after playing Noita, and I fell to my death so many times. Like I'd played Terraria beforehand, but after hundreds of hours of muscle memory, it's like, I'll make this jump. It's like, no, I didn't. No, I'm dead.
Yeah.
Well, the navigation feels really good.
Yes.
That was like the first thing that you basically encounter is just the hover,
The levitation
the
stuff, and
levitation
just
thing. It just feels so good.
and tapping, and just
Yep.
oh, I can actually make it across vast distances.
Yeah, it's really really cool.
They also set you up to try and push that to its limits very early on. Like you said, the first thing you did basically was go in the opposite direction to where you're meant to go.
Yes, so you
find a
start
tree.
you start off facing a cave basically.
Yep.
And on the what is it, right side of the screen,
Yep.
And so, you normally platformer, run to the right. But I was like, what's over here first?
Yep.
Let me just see what's over here. And I just went down a mountain, like, got to, like, a tree and a cliff. And then I was like, oh, that's it.
Did you climb the tree?
I didn't think about it.
So I didn't realize you could climb the tree initially. I spent ages trying to find a way to give me
Yeah.
enough levitation to climb the tree.
Right.
To get so basically, if you hover, you'll see that there's a branch,
Mm.
and at the top of the branch there's a glowing item.
Oh, I didn't see that
And
at all.
I was like, ooh, I got to find out what that is. And so I spent multiple deaths trying to figure out how to get up there. Turns out that you can just like stand on the weird pixels on the tree. It's fine.
If there's even a 1 pixel ledge,
Yeah.
you can stand
Oh
on.
my
Yes.
God.
But I was like trying to pile up mud from potions. I was like,
That is a good strategy.
yes, I was doing all sorts of weird stuff trying to just get some extra height. I did eventually get up there before I figured out that you could just stand on a 1 pixel ledge. And there's an egg. There's an egg in a nest.
Oh.
And the egg is a worm egg. Turns out there's a bunch of different kinds of worm, and some are pretty easy, and some of them will like gobble you up real fast.
Wow.
And it will also, I didn't realize this the first time I got the egg, but if you go a little bit to the left of the branch, you can go inside the tree.
Oh.
And inside the
Yep.
tree is a special like modifier. It will double the amount of gold you get. Sounds great, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, don't get it. Never touch it. Don't even get near it because it curses the ground, and every like square of ground you touch that's green, which is just starts appearing around you,
Oh,
feels like
wow.
25 damage, and you have 100 health. It is like the fastest way to end your run.
Wow. So
That's
that
yeah.
that also leads into another one of my questions: is how do you get your health back?
You you go through. I mean, you can answer
Yeah.
this better. But
So healing is at a premium in the game. Like it is very rare. So you'll have to basically get to the end of the biome to get to a holy mountain.
Yep.
And
Yep.
in there will be a heal.
Ah, I see.
The best thing
Okay.
you can do is get to the holy mountain and not need to use the heal.
Yeah.
So you can come back and get it later.
Oh, I see.
The more resources you can gather before having to heal,
The better.
the better.
Yep. Yep.
Like ideally, like if you go out of the holy mountain, it normally breaks down.
yeah,
But you can break out of the holy mountain without destroying it through various methods.
do you anger the gods every
You
time?
definitely anger the gods.
Yeah, I tried that. It turns out the gods don't like being angry.
Turns out the gods are little bitches, though. You just take them to town, you know? Just like,
That's
You say
not
that.
how
Yeah,
it went
yeah, yeah.
for me.
yeah, to be fair.
The gods I faced had a giant shield and
Yeah, that-
shot me with
Yeah.
Laser beams or something?
pink
So-
bullets.
Like, initially, I kept playing and I never angered the gods. I just kept
Yeah.
going down, 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 down. And I got pretty much to the last boss. And
Yeah.
then at some point, I realized I could break out of these things.
Mm.
And then I spent the next probably like 60 deaths just trying to learn how to kill the gods
Yeah.
effectively so I could get in and out of the mountain whenever I
Mm.
wanted. So now I've got a lot of strategies just to deal with these gods.
Interesting. Now, the way the biomes are connected is very interesting and difficult to navigate.
It's preset. So there'll be like randomization within the biome.
Yes.
But like the first one you go down to
Yeah.
is to the right there will always be that sea of lava.
Yep.
And to the left there will always be that dark area.
Yep.
The next biome down to the left is always a fungal cavern.
Yep.
That is way harder than the mines.
Yes.
But if you can get resources from there, they're way better than what you
Yeah.
can get until like normally like a few biomes down.
Right.
So if you can survive through the fungal
interesting.
caverns, you'll get a lot of like way better ones with more slots,
Sure,
and
sure.
better mana recharge, whatever that is, or like even some good spells. But there are a few healing spells, and it's normally around that point in the game you might get them.
Healing spells. Okay.
You might get them,
They exist.
but you probably won't.
Okay.
Like-
Are they limited? Like so?
Yes, all of them are limited.
They're basically, for listeners who don't know the game, wands can shoot like an infinite number of spells. They're limited by recharge time and mana, except for some spells which have basically ammo limits, and most of those are explosives, and they're designed to limit your ability to dig through walls.
There's a lot of different spells that have
That's true.
charges on them.
That's-
Stuff like
Yeah.
your black holes would just like
Yep.
one of your best digging options is to shoot a black hole at a wall and it will just evaporate it, and then you can just walk through it quite nicely.
Yep.
There are ways to make any spell unlimited.
Yes, I did get a perk.
but even that unlimited spell one won't make some spells unlimited.
Yes.
There are ways to make any spell unlimited, but that's kind of hidden behind a boss.
Okay.
So you've got to go find that. It's not on the main path. It's
I've found some interesting bosses. There's a lot of things I found in this game where I go, oh, that's interesting. That probably means something, and then I haven't bothered to look it up. I'm going to list them now. If you go over the mountain, there's like a little lake. At the bottom of the lake is some mechanical looking device.
Yep, like a little musical device.
Yes.
Did you kick it?
I didn't kick it. I blasted it with my wand until it blew up.
No, that's an option. If you kick it, it'll play some music.
Okay. There's another one further through the desert.
Yep.
And if you go in the other direction, there's one in like a snow biome.
Yes.
And I think those are the 3 I've found so far.
There is a 4th out there somewhere.
Okay. And is it just play music? Is that all it's for?
It plays music for a reason.
Oh,
Oh boy.
Enjoyment, that's the reason.
Yeah, to dance.
Yeah.
So I don't know how spoilery you get with things, on these podcasts.
Let's take a show of hands. Who cares about spoilers here?
No, not me.
Yeah,
I mean, like, I will play this off and on, but I can't, like, my experience of this game is dying.
Yeah.
Yes.
Me too.
And every time I found something cool, I have immediately died afterwards.
Yes.
So it is a game that front loads the difficulty.
Yes.
Like
A lot of roguelikes do
it
this though.
past probably the 4th biome, you're probably strong enough to win the run.
I made it to the 4th biome. I think I made it through the 4th biome and then blew myself up.
Yep.
That's as far as I've gotten.
I keep dying in the 3rd, I think.
Is that the first snow one?
Yep.
Yeah, I made it to
So
the second
after that,
one.
there's the Hisi base. And
Yeah,
that
I
is
made
like,
it there.
if you don't have the damage, it's very hard to get through there. You just And sometimes it's like gather resources in the first few, and if you're not strong enough, just rush through and get to the Holy Mountain and just like, and you can come back up later. So if you can go down to gather resources, you can come back into a previous biome stronger.
Yeah.
And then you just blast through all the enemies and stuff like that.
A lot of the problems I've been having in the 3rd one is like all of a sudden there's things that freeze you.
Oh yeah, don't get frozen. That's bad.
Yeah. The thing is, it's like unrecoverably bad. Yeah. You'll get frozen and then you'll get knocked around and you just keep taking damage.
Most of the
and then
freezing is very avoidable. What you learn
Sparkly
to hate
clouds.
is the Ukos. They're these lightning dudes that like little. You'll see like the flame guys in the first
Yeah.
biome that shoot fireballs. The lightning ones jump around like madmen, and they have
also
a massive
shock you,
explosion, and that stuns you.
Yeah, that
And it
is
stuns
wild.
you long enough for them to shoot you again.
Yeah,
Like they can just like many a run has ended by like
Just stun locking you.
just coming around the corner, and then one of them will just like drive by, just like, what's this perfect shot? Like, there is a lot of danger in Noita, and generally exploring into the darkness without a way to retreat quickly is a recipe for disaster.
Now, you talk about going back up through your biomes.
Yes.
When I'm playing, I get down to the Holy Mountain area.
Yep.
Big stone blocks. Can I just drill straight through down into like...
with the right
With
weapons
the right
you can.
spells, you can. Yeah.
Yeah. And now the Holy Mountain is... You've got like a heart to refill your health. You've got a diamond to refill your spells. You've got some sort of shop which sells either spells or wands.
Yep.
Or maybe some other things that I haven't discovered yet. And then you get your perks.
Which you can re-roll.
Sure. It's a fairly small space, but the amount of space that the access to the Holy Mountain takes up is large. As in, like, there are 3 or 4 or 5 different portal entrances.
Probably more than that. It's like basically the entire bottom of every single biome will be entrances to the Holy Mountain.
Yeah.
So that's normally like maybe 8 or 9 across.
Yeah.
Different portals in. Sometimes they'll be randomly covered with lava or blood or something. So like there have been times
depending on what you did above.
No, not even. It just randomly
generates.
spawns. Like the whole
okay.
thing is filled with that. Like I've dug up out of a Holy Mountain before just to have lava come down and kill me. Because I wasn't paying attention to what was above me. So like.
So, but if I'm digging down, what am I hitting if I'm not? Am I like? Is it just that this takes up a middle section of that stone area, or I don't understand the geography between biomes where the Holy Mountain sits.
The Holy Mountain is between each biome.
Yep.
And it's in the middle basically.
Okay.
So
if I'm on the edge of a biome and I dig down, I can just miss it by accident.
Yes, unless you've got a way to dig all the way through the middle. There have been times where I'm having an amazing run, but I'll find myself on 2 hit points, but I've got infinite digging. So I will go around a biome and dig into the Holy Mountain from the side just to get the heal and then proceed with my run. You know? Like, you learn that there is no time limit in this game.
Yep.
The longer you can spend doing things, generally the safer you'll be. Obviously, there's people out there that can do everything very, very quickly. I'm a slow and steady kind of guy. You know?
This feels like a slow and steady kind of game. I can't imagine this is a game you can feasibly. You say people can do it quickly, but the number of variables in any space makes it feel infeasible to rush. Because if I'm rushing through and I kill the wrong monster in the wrong space, now I'm trapped in a pool of lava.
Yep. Gold
Or
is,
worse, now you're a sheep.
Or now I'm a sheep.
Gold is never worth losing health for.
Yeah.
Is a lesson that I had to learn very early. Wetting yourself before everything is the play. Like spraying water.
As in life?
Yeah.
You want to spray water on yourself, but it's like, water.
There's
There's
fire.
fire.
Yeah. Okay,
like,
got it.
spray water on myself. Oh, there's some toxic sludge. Spray water on myself. Spray water in it. Turn the toxic sludge into water. You know? It's like, it took me probably like 50 deaths before I realized I could turn toxic sludge into water.
I'm learning that now.
Yeah, that's great.
It's very useful information.
Is it a case of like there has to be more water?
One pixel of water will convert all toxic sludge that it is touching. Like, it may take some time.
It's just like a chain reaction, or
but you can spread it with your wand as well. You just shoot your wand into it and you mix it.
Now, I love having a human wiki on the podcast, so I'm going to ask you some more questions. Concentrated mana.
Yes.
I've noticed that converts things, as far as I can tell. If I spray concentrated mana in water, I think it
converts all water to concentrated mana.
And I know that, like, if I consume it or stand in it, my mana refills fast.
Yes.
Is there any other use for that?
There's a perk called Iron Stomach,
Yep,
which removes the downside of eating too much.
Yep.
Because if you eat too much, you can actually eat so much you explode.
Okay.
I didn't know that. Another guy at work told me that.
Yeah.
But Iron Stomach makes so there's no downside to eating, so you can just eat infinite amounts.
Yeah.
So you can convert all the water in every holy mountain, or just like there's a sea somewhere, kind of off to the side. You can convert it all to concentrated mana and just sit there and drink it, and your mana that will apply bonus mana regen to all your wands or anything. So like, suddenly something that was running out of mana previously, like you can cast way more.
Now, just a quick show of hands. Did you guys even know you could eat food?
No, I didn't even get to that point.
I knew you could drink the potions.
Yeah. So
It's not even food. You can eat
liquids.
any substance you're on. You can eat lava if you want. It may not go well for you unless you've got iron stomach.
You just walk up and go eat or something.
You press down and you'll eat.
There
If you kill an enemy and you mouse over it, it'll say like questionable meat or mystery meat or rotten meat or something. You can go eat that.
I might have seen that, but I was like,
eat
I
it
don't want to.
you'll throw up.
You can eat some moss and you'll get gas and you'll fart. Like, this is like a whole...
I didn't know that.
No.
That's not. Does it make you levitate more?
Might do. I haven't eaten enough moss to test that.
Makes you explode.
It does make flammable gas though, so if you need some flammable gas for some reason.
Now, some other things I've discovered. You can float up, and there's like a little altar, and I know there's a little secret you can do with the altar.
Yep.
Spoilers. The green tablets, if you toss them on the altar, turns into gold. And you can get quite a lot of gold.
That altar, when translated, so everything, the text translates 1-to-1 to like an
Finnish or
like to just a normal English alphabet.
They've
letter.
just done ABC.
Yeah, it's a direct
cipher.
1-to-1 cipher.
Yep.
So you can actually, like, once you figure, like, if you actually look at the tablets, you'll see them in that writing, and then it shifts. That's actually like exactly 1-to-1. So you could actually just take a screenshot of one, look at the other, and you'll get the whole thing.
Wow.
But if you translate it, it's something along the lines of like bring your treasure here or bring stuff here, basically.
Yeah.
So you can bring a lot of different things to that altar, and different shit will happen. You take a chest to that altar, it will make chests rain down. Like
chests.
Yes, a chest.
I didn't even know you could pick up chests.
You can't pick up a chest.
Wait.
Well, you can. There's a perk called telekinetic kick, which will let you like bring anything to you and carry with you.
Okay.
But other than that, you have to kick it up there or get like a spell of buoyancy or like there's many ways to get things.
And
spell of buoyancy. I think that was the one that made me float forever.
Yep.
Yes. Yep. That thing is wild. Other things I found. If you go all the way to the right, you'll hit the edge of the world, which is, as far as I could tell at least, it was like a big, extremely dense rock.
Yep.
And then I went up.
Yep.
And I found what looked like a UFO.
Yep.
And inside, it took me multiple attempts to get to this point where I could get there and have something to dig through the UFO with.
Whoa.
And inside was an awesome perk that killed me almost immediately.
So, like Essence of
Earth, I think.
Yep.
And it shoots little explosive bolts in 8 directions every like 4 seconds.
Oh my god.
And I know there's a perk out there that is like immunity to explosions.
Yep.
I had that.
If I could get that combination, I would be set.
I wonder, will that save you from that? Yeah, probably would.
The problem I had with the immunity to explosions thing is I think it gives you something else as well that makes you do explosions. And being immune...
There's actually 2... There's just pure immunity to explosions. There's just a little shield with an explosion on it, or there's exploding corpse. Like
Yeah.
And that gives you
So I got the
immunity to
exploding corpse one, which was real fun, except that like it doesn't make you immune to fire.
No.
And all of the explosions
Leave fire.
dramatically
there's
alter the floor and environment around you.
One of the deadliest perks to take is actually the electrify perk. It makes you immune to electricity, but makes you shoot out electricity everywhere.
Yeah.
But it doesn't make you immune to all the fire that electricity creates, or the fact you go
That's
near a potion and the potion gets exploded from the electricity, and then you polymorph and then you kill yourself.
That's
and
the-
your own electricity. Like,
Yeah, that's the
fun things.
only perk I've seen that has a warning. So I definitely didn't take it because all of the other ones also should have warnings.
I
That
mean,
one
there should
doesn't.
be a disclaimer on everything in the game. This will kill you.
Yeah.
And that's one thing is like, you go through this bell curve of like, you test things out, you'll kill yourself with them. Like it's a spell, you get Plasma Cutter and you use it for the first time and you walk in 1 pixel forward and you're
And you
dead.
just like immediately die.
You're
Yeah, I did
immediately
that.
dead.
Yep.
And you're like, I'm never touching that spell again.
Yeah.
But then you get to this point, you're like, how can I make that hurt the enemy that much and not me?
Yeah.
It's like, well, what, if I put long distance cast and homing on it, and then suddenly that Plasma Cutter is like zooming around them and cutting through everything instantly.
Surely I
And it's
still
not
gonna get
me.
killed by it.
That is like, that's a good thing. But like the faster you can kill the enemy, generally the safer you are. So there is this risk reward balance of
Yeah.
like, once you get comfortable enough and you've killed yourself enough with the certain spells, you go, okay, how do I weaponize this against the enemy, not myself?
Yeah.
Because there's like multiple spells that like explosion, and all it does is an explosion on you.
Yep. I
Right?
found that one. I
Yeah,
tested
yeah.
that one out. And,
Yep.
and
Yep. And like, okay, how do I make this happen away from me? How do I make this happen on the enemy and not me?
Yeah. There's also some spells where I'm like, oh, this is going to be so useful. Chainsaw, I'll be able to dig through anything. And it does almost nothing.
Chainsaw is the best spell in the game.
It really, it does.
Is it just 'cause
it's
of
a
the
tiny,
delay
tiny
reduction?
area of effect.
It does. At the end of it, it says it has magical properties. If it is the last spell cast in a like a spell cluster,
Yeah.
it resets the recharge to 0 on anything. So you can turn provided you've got the mana cost and you set up your wand
Just chain
properly.
it forever.
If you've got enough like
Oh.
if your other if the recharge or the cast delay, one of them is low enough, you basically can. I think it's cast delay that it removes all of.
It just turns
so
into
if
a
your
machine gun.
recharge is low enough, and it will remove some of that as well. So if you get like a loony
Yeah, it's minus 0.3, I think.
Yep.
Okay.
Which
Now
is
I understand.
huge
I was
sometimes.
just when I read it, I was like, oh, it'll turn my wand into a chainsaw. I'll be able to just cut through stuff.
So like
That's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah.
Yep, and it does that.
Yeah, really
and
small
if you
area
take a
effects.
chainsaw to bodies, you'll put blood everywhere, right? So like, if for instance you went and grabbed that egg you were talking about earlier and smashed it on the ground, and that worm came out, and you killed the worm, and you took a chainsaw to that,
Yeah.
and then you ate that worm's blood,
Yeah.
suddenly you can see everything. Like worm blood.
Of course.
What does that mean? You can see everything.
Well, worm blood lets you see in the dark effectively.
Oh.
So like that biome off to the left that you couldn't see anything in. There's
Oh my
actually a
God.
heal in there, and there's a health up in there. If you can see, but they're in water, and you'll normally drown before
Right.
ever finding them.
I wonder what that
But
was
if you
about.
go up the tree and get
An egg.
an egg that
And it
has a
with a
worm
chainsaw.
in it, and then
Can
you
you-
kill that, and then you eat that, and then you go down there, you can then get extra health.
Wow.
So like,
So I thought the way the trick to that was going to just be that there's a spell that's just light.
yep,
Yeah.
that's another way in. So,
So
like,
you can do that
I'll
as well.
very much prioritize getting a light spell just to be able to go into there.
Right.
If I haven't found a worm to slaughter. And there's a lot of spells that won't make an enemy bleed as well. Like your energy-based spells, they'll just normally like kill an enemy straight out. So like energy sphere, I think it is. Like you'll notice that you kill things with that and they don't really bleed at all.
Yep.
So it makes it a lot safer versus things that like bleed lava.
Yes.
So using like a spark bolt with a chainsaw trigger is normally a great thing to kill a lot of enemies.
Yeah.
But you use that on a wasp that bleeds lava and there's lava everywhere now, you know?
Yeah, those
so like
wasps are annoying.
Not a fan of those. I've found some very interesting. There was like a pixelated ghost-looking little guy. There's some very interesting enemies in this game. I haven't found any bosses in a legitimate method. I found lots of secret bosses so far.
Yep.
How many bosses are there? How many? If I'm just doing a straight dive to the bottom, which I assume
if
is
you're
where
doing
the
a
boss is.
straight dive to the bottom, going straight down,
Yeah.
there's probably 2 bosses on
On the way.
the path,
Yeah.
or like they're both off to the right of the biome. They're like right there.
Okay.
I know in the jungle biome, so the 5th, I think it
There's
is.
a jungle biome, guys.
Did
you know?
No.
And then I think in the Temple of Art, there's one.
Temple of Art. How many biomes are there?
There's a lot.
I think it's like 7 or something before you get to the boss. I really should know that. After
You're just talking if you're diving down.
going
right?
straight down.
There's biomes off to the sides. There's a pyramid, for example.
There's a boss in that pyramid.
Okay. There's the temple of the tower of, I guess maybe it's called the watchtower. There's some sort of tower that just goes straight up, and there weren't really guys in it, but there's lava at the bottom, and I think also lava at the top.
Yep.
Weird.
Don't know what that's all about.
Weird.
If you dig into the middle of that, there's a little picture, and if you look what the picture says, like shows
Oh
you,
my god.
but it's actually a picture of the lake off to the left that you found that
The music box.
the music box in.
Yep.
And there's an arrow pointing up with like an island above it. So if you go directly up from that lake, there's a floating sky island.
Another sky island. Another sky island above the mountain. Are there lots of sky islands?
I think there's 4 sky islands that have like a little interconnecting quest to do kind of thing.
This game is so dense.
Yeah, so
That's
like
really
basically, if you go straight down
Yeah.
and kill the boss, that's what most people consider the tutorial of the game. And it's like it normally takes people like a few hundred deaths to beat the tutorial.
Wow.
And
I
it's
feel like I have like a few hundred deaths and I just am not past the third. Nah, it's probably not a few hundred. I think I played for like maybe 10 hours or so, but most of that is just dying.
Yep.
And most of that is just dying very early.
Does the strategy become like? I know when you get all of the orbs of knowledge, or when you get an orb of knowledge,
Yep.
on future runs those become health upgrades.
Yes.
Does the strategy just become like visit all of the low-hanging fruit health upgrades, and
I
then
normally will collect the one directly above where you start,
Yep.
depending on the secondary I start with.
Yep.
So if I start with something like dynamite
Yep.
or the crystal, pretty much if it's not the big bomb,
Yep.
I normally you can make a little dent in the side
Yep.
and then jump up there and then get up to the top.
Yep.
Then you can dig through the bottom and get that. You can get yourself an emerald tablet. Tablets are like one of the strongest things in the game, by the way. That's like one of the few things that like is basically indestructible outside of like a black hole or luminance drills or something.
Yeah.
You can throw tablets at any enemy and it will most likely kill them. And there is, and you can drop kick a tablet. Like there's tablet kick. So like if you throw a
Just
tablet at
kick.
the same time you kick, it will like launch at terminal velocity. Like it'll start spinning and like you can do like 5,000 damage to something with a tablet, right? So
How many bosses have you killed with tablets?
Yeah.
then?
I killed most of the gods with tablets.
Does it bypass the shield? Because the gods
Yes,
have.
it does.
Okay.
But
No, hang on.
if you kill enough gods, the god's big brother comes out and he eats the matter around him. You can still kill him with the tablet, but you need to be real quick about it because like he'll turn on this like
Black
matter
hole.
eater thing and that will eat the tablet.
Okay. So there's more than one god.
Yeah, there's
just-
Steve and fucking Skood, I think his name is.
So the
Stavari, I think the first guy's name is.
is this just in the Holy Mountains? Like you
Yep.
kill a god in the Holy Mountain, and then the next time you try and anger a god,
It's
it's
after
a
you.
different god.
It's after you kill 3 of the Steves, then his big brother shows up.
Okay. And I know that if you go through the like lava lake, and you get an orb of knowledge there or a
Yep.
health upgrade or whatever, and then you're like, oh, I'll just double back across the bridge, and then like it's a big angry eyeball.
That is one of the hardest bosses, I feel.
Yeah, I didn't beat him. Spoilers. Didn't beat him.
So,
Didn't come close.
hot tip, he copies the spells that you shoot at him.
Okay.
So, if you can figure out a way to shoot
Give him explosion.
I think a community favorite is like plasma. If you can get him to shoot plasma, you've seen how deadly it is for you. Well, imagine he puts down hundreds of those plasma things in front of him and he walks into them.
Right.
Like, he evaporates very quickly.
Okay.
So there is like a lot of the bosses are just like figuring out what spells work versus them.
A way to
like,
cheese it, basically.
There are some that reflect damage back to you. There's some that like share health with you. There's some that like you can't that you can't see unless you have like a certain item with you, or like, you know, there's a bunch of different conditions, or like
This game, I know that there's it was like made by 3 guys, right?
Yep.
And I just feel like maybe the whole game is just a troll. And it's like,
very likely.
How many ways can we just mess with our players? And I feel like every update was just like, well, they figured out a way around it. We'll do a different one, and this one's really gonna screw with them. And there's one solution that we know of.
Like, there is just like kind of layers on layers on layers. Like the more you play the game, the more you realize there is in the game as well.
Yeah, I'm
Like,
kind of getting that sense.
I'm trying to do something that's called the Sun Quest now, where I'm trying to make a sun.
That's a game.
And a sun is just as deadly as you think it would be. So you have to be pretty. You want to be very like. I've tried to make. I made a sun before, but it instantly killed me.
Yeah. That makes sense
So
to
now
me.
I need to basically just get way more powerful before doing this again, so I can actually do stuff with the sun.
Is it just you? Do you need just like? Is it a specific damage type that you can get immunity to beforehand?
I think it does like an unblockable kind of damage. But so there's stuff like stainless armor, which is like when you don't have a stain on you, you take 50% less damage.
I do know about that. Yes.
But you can get like 9 or 10 of those, right?
Oh, okay.
So there are ways to get more perks.
Are they multiplicative? I have to assume they are.
I'm not sure
like,
what the scaling on
You only
it
need
is.
2 then, right?
No, it's not. Yeah, I just get 100% less damage taken. It's
Right. Okay.
So it's some sort. I'm not sure if it has drop off as you get more and more stacks, or if it's just
I've never gotten more than one of the same perk because I haven't made it that far. I've gotten, I think, a total of about 3 or 4 perks.
So if you go down the main path,
Yeah.
you can't really get more than one of the same perk.
Okay.
What you need to do is go into parallel worlds to get more than one perk.
Parallel
Wow,
worlds.
Okay. All right.
So
Go on.
remember how you said you went far right and you hit extremely dense rock?
Yeah.
Well, if you dig through that, you'll find some cursed rock, and if you dig through that, then you'll find more and then you'll find a copy of the same world that you're in effectively, but with some like harder stuff.
The
So, like,
Super Mario 64 methodology. Gotcha. Okay.
and then you can once again go through all the holy mountains and pillage them for resources. And
What?
Is it when you say it's a copy? Is it like an exact copy, as in like it?
so
it
there
uses
is
the same seed.
there is infinite parallel worlds in either direction.
Yes. And are they copies of like so?
They are effectively the same layout as the primary world. There are a few differences. Like I think there's a few bosses that are missing. Like the lava lake just isn't there in parallel worlds.
Okay.
For instance, and so then the orb that's there's not an orb under the lava lake. Don't worry about it. There's an orb under the lava lake. That's not
man.
there.
So
Wow.
I was like when I've died in the lava lake. I was like, this is deep. I bet there's something at the bottom.
But also up and down works a little bit differently. So there's parallel worlds up to either side, and if you get strong enough or are creative enough, you can get to them. Like you put some ambrosia on yourself, you can like get through them because you're invulnerable to damage.
Could you ambrosia your way through the sun, or does that bypass ambrosia?
Probably not, because you need that ambrosia stain on you, and the sun's going to destroy whatever's near it.
Wait, what does ambrosia do?
Ambrosia is a liquid that what's the little shield icon above you, and as far as I can tell,
It makes you
just don't
invulnerable
take-
to everything.
Don't take damage.
Oh.
So like, if you're having trouble with the god, you can just spray some ambrosia on yourself, and you can just sit there and tank it. As long as you don't move, you won't really lose the stain unless some other liquid gets on you.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
So you can just be like, I've got ambrosia on me now. This is just a matter of time before I kill you.
Wow.
But you have to realize that ambrosia is useful and have picked up some ambrosia.
Don't
Yeah.
drink it.
What happens if you drink?
So like,
You just start puking.
yeah, you'll throw up. There's some. one thing I'd recommend is like every time you pick up a new liquid that you haven't seen before, try and drink it. See if you throw up. See if it's fine. Like some things you can drink and it's fine, and some things are just not for drinking.
Yep.
I know if you right click, you'll throw a potion.
Yep.
And I don't. Is there a way to drink a potion without spilling it on the ground first?
Yes.
There's just a drink button, isn't there?
What?
If you
Explain.
in the hot bar where they are, if you just right click them in the hot bar, you will drink them directly from the flask.
Okay.
If you
if you look in the key bindings, it tells you that there's a key bind for drink.
Is there? I have yet to find a potion that is beneficial to drink.
Something like acceleratium or
but I could just-
levitatium.
Okay. I've spilled acceleratium on myself and
So
zipped
normally-
through the desert.
Normally, if I find that, I just drink the whole flask instantly.
Okay.
And then I will fill that up with a second water flask or something useful.
Oh, how do you fill the flasks? Because like
Hold it and then jump in the liquid.
Yeah. You have to. Tip,
Okay, so it'll
the
only
tip of
fill
it
like
has to be under the
30%
water.
or something, right?
No, it'll fill right up.
It depends on
Depends
how
how
deep the liquid is.
how deep's the liquid.
Yeah.
Like if it's
So
below
if
your
you're just
feet, you probably can't get it.
submerged.
But if you're like submerged in it, or like like if the flask
Okay.
is in the liquid, or you can throw a flask into the liquid gently,
Yeah, because
and it will fill up,
I
provided
remembered-
it's tilted correctly. Like if it falls like nozzle down, it won't really fill.
okay.
Oh wow.
Because Damo gave me some tips before I started playing. One of them was if you don't have water, start over. And
I was like, tip it out and get some water.
yeah,
But
and the other thing was you could tip it out. So I spent a while trying,
Yep.
and like the best I could do was like 30% of a flask, and I was like, it's just kind of like a waste. So I ended up like, at the moment, continue playing if I've got like swamp or whatever, any of the things that remove the
anything that's water
blood's
adjacent.
also
Basically,
good.
if you don't start with like polymorphine, because there's been times where I don't realize I didn't pay attention to the flask I start with, and I'm like, oh, I'm on fire, and then suddenly I turn myself into a sheep, and I'm dead. You know, like. But like something like berserkium won't put out fire, or like it will if you get deep enough in it, because the stain overtakes the other stain. Like every debuff is effectively a stain in the game. So like, how much of this is affecting me? Like how much of it
covered
is
am
on
I,
me? Like
basically?
even like fire on you will be a stain. You'll see it's like 100%, and it'll it'll tick down. So like that's the duration. The more you move, the faster it will go. Or like,
I didn't know that. So if I get to the bottom of the map,
yep,
and then I can just dig straight down, right?
yep.
What happens?
There'll be lava.
But I could dig through that. And
Yes, you
there'll
can.
be ways to throw
Below
through
that will be hell.
Oh.
Okay. Is that a whole different biome with
Yep.
enemies?
Yep.
Okay. And if I keep going past that?
Hell is infinite.
Oh my god.
Hell just you get to a point.
Well, we're not. Hang on. This isn't a theology podcast.
No, if you get to a certain depth of hell, it just starts infinitely looping.
Okay.
So if you go sideways, yes, there's actually a whole world, but
Yeah.
you will just start going through the same kind of scene over and
Yeah.
over and over again. And you are actually getting deeper. You will have to fly up or like go back up the same depth that you went down.
Right.
But it will go down infinitely.
I mean, I don't know how far anybody's ever gotten, but I know in Caves of Cud, which we've talked about previously on this podcast, you can go down very far as well, essentially infinitely. But the generation starts getting really weird at specific levels because that's just how. Like,
I haven't tried to go down that much.
Okay.
I've probably the furthest I've gone sideways is probably about 30 worlds.
okay.
And
Were you going like sideways, collect all the stuff, sideways, collect all the
Yep.
stuff? So your character had like 10,000 health kind of thing.
I think the highest I've got my health is probably like 250,000.
That's nutty.
You can get it to actually say infinite.
Wow.
And then,
It's like it's to a point where it gets.
now I know there's a perk that gives you 50% bonus health.
Yep.
Does that apply to things you gather afterwards?
The one that gives you 50% is just at the time it will give you 50% more. So if you go
Right.
So if you go through enough mountains and get enough of those, it's like
Yeah.
every single time it's like, okay, I got an extra 50 health. Now I got an extra 75, and if you
I
hadn't
think it
got
said it was a
any
one-off. Does that
Yeah.
mean it?
it just means it's like it
At that time.
It doesn't constantly.
Right.
it's not-
Okay, but you can get multiple.
yep.
Okay. Okay. So that would be how you get those
There
crazy
are
values.
there are weirder ways to get a lot of health. So like, there's a bunch of different mages in the game, Like, have you guys been shot by like a polymage, or like has something turned you like, or
I found like an alchemist. I've fought alchemists a bunch. Is that what you're talking about? Like, there's a room full of bottles, and there's a guy who's just hurling liquids at me, and he turns himself into things, and I kill him, and then
no?
there's just 1,000 liquids
So
on the ground.
there's a bunch of different mages. Like there's poly mages. There's like ones that blind you if they hit you. There's ones that there's teleport mages. So like if they hit you, they'll actually make you start randomly teleporting around. So like you might
that shit is so annoying. The pools of teleport liquid.
Yep.
And you're like, okay, so there's a chest in the middle of that. But like, in the process of trying to get there, you're going to have to like shoot something. Some of it's going to get splashed around. There'll just be little puddles of it. And as soon as you touch it, you just pop off somewhere else. It's so disorienting.
And there's stable teleportium and unstable. And stable, you can generally will go in the direction you're pointing your cursor. As far as I can tell. Where unstable is just anywhere.
Yeah.
So it's
But within a range, right?
Yeah, within a certain range. But there's also swapper mages, so like when you hit them, you'll swap positions with them.
Okay.
So like you can get yourself into a lot of trouble with that.
Yeah.
But there is a blood mage. And what he does is every time he hits you, he halves your health.
Oh, Jesus.
Okay.
But let's say you stand in a thing of ambrosia and you do that until your health has hit the minimum it can.
Yeah.
And then you go pick up a heart to increase your health.
Yeah.
All those halves, like you might have 10 different debuffs that are half.
Yep.
You pick up the heart that gives you 25 health.
Yeah.
And then it effectively undoes all the halves with that value. And then you go from having like 600 life to maybe having 4,000 life.
Right.
Or,
okay.
There's
okay. So it doesn't look at your starting value. It looks like at your current value, and then doubles and doubles and doubles and doubles and doubles.
Yep.
Okay.
But you have to make it there with 1 health.
Well, yeah.
Yes. But I mean, there is a risk to it. Like you're effectively, you generally will drag him to a heart that you've secured.
Oh, okay.
Like you don't just go like, oh, I'm just going to get this debuff and then go find it real quick. It's like, no, you find a heart and it's like, okay, I saw a blood mage near here. I'll bring him to that. I'll ambrosia up so there's no risk to me. You can do it without ambrosia if you ballsy and know what you're doing.
So I won't do that.
Does he deal damage other than halving your health, or is it just...
Yeah, I think it's minimal, like 6 damage or something.
Okay.
But it's definitely better with ambrosia, so you can just sit there and tank it up.
Yeah.
And just like you can get a lot of debuffs on you.
And the debuff, is it just like there's a delay on the debuff?
I think it lasts for like 14 seconds or something.
Okay.
Or like,
so you get hit.
and there are ways to. There's like a spell called cessation, and what that does is puts you in the realm of no realms, which effectively just fucking takes you out of existence. Okay. So if you do that and come back, all your debuffs are reset.
Okay.
So
This game is nuts.
Yeah,
It's like actually bonkers.
Seriously, I found some. Look, at this point, nothing I'm going to say is going to surprise you.
No,
it's going to surprise Blake and Paul. I found a thing that was a one-way portal to the Nether realm.
Oh, wow.
Which I thought, oh sweet, I'll use it and I'll go inside. No. It's the one way is to your.
Yeah,
your
I
world.
actually I found that. Yeah.
And a bunch of tentacles came out and started hitting me, and I died.
yep.
I use that on enemies.
Yeah, that's what you're meant to do. Of course, that's what you're meant to do. I didn't
It's got
do
a
that.
few charges.
I thought, sweet, a secret. I'll jump inside. But is there something I'm missing there?
Not that I figured out yet.
There was
Maybe.
in the Holy Mountain, there's like a little pedestal thing underneath the...
Yeah, I've seen
Perks
glowing
or something?
crystals. I've seen like liquid. I think the liquid looks like concentrated mana.
The crystal.
It's called like a worm egg or something.
It's a worm. It basically, if you destroy it,
Yeah.
it basically protects the holy mountains from worms. If you destroy it, then they're much more likely to
Gotcha.
dig through and be worms everywhere.
Worms are. Have you found any worms yet?
No.
Yeah, it doesn't sound scary. I'll say that. Like, oh, I could squish a worm, no problem. But then you see one, and you're like, no.
Yeah, the worms get big,
Yeah.
and they can effectively dig a way in or out of the holy
Yes.
mountain for you
Yes.
as well.
Sometimes you'll find tracks in the ground.
Yeah, can you
And-
follow their
'cause I
tunnels
noticed-
or something?
Yes.
Oh, that's cool.
There are small ones that don't leave tunnels, and
Yeah.
then there are ones that leave massive tunnels that you can just
Wow.
walk through. And
But if you follow, can you just find their tunnel and then
You probably want to kill the worm.
you come across them as well?
yeah.
yeah, eventually.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
There
It's
are,
scary.
I don't know
You
if
know what you're in
have you found any worms in caves of Cud?
for. Just a little worms.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I think I found one with it looked like it had a shell on its head or something like that.
Right. There's a dune style desert worm
Oh.
that digs through the sand dunes
Yeah.
and crushes everything in its path.
Whoa.
It's pretty cool. Anyway, back to this other game, which is basically it has a kind of a lot.
It does. It doesn't sound very.
There's a reason I spent a few hundred hours playing
Yeah.
it.
It's so funny because it advertises itself as just being like, oh, it's this one game where you can craft wands and do spells. Like, it'll be a good time.
Yeah,
It is a
But
good
then
time
it's like-
after
I'm waiting to
getting
find. I'm
beaten
waiting
into
to
the
find
ground.
the good time.
You start playing, it's just like brutal.
Yeah.
It's the
Even
layers
the-
upon layers that I think is the real interesting thing. Like you say, you think, oh, it's just a fun one game, and then it's like the more you discover it, the
So-
more
Yep.
big you realize it is.
We've talked about going down to hell.
Mm-hmm.
Does that imply there's a heaven?
Yeah, go up.
Okay.
Oh my god!
And is that infinite as well?
Yep.
All right. Are there monsters there?
Yep.
And I assume they're mean.
The worst thing about heaven is there's puddles of polymorph everywhere.
Okay.
Polymorphine. Like there's just a bunch of alchemy going on
Yeah.
up there. So there's a bunch of different pools of a bunch of different
Wow.
things.
Okay.
But if you're teleporting around, like using a teleport bolt that's going at like Mach speed,
Yeah.
and suddenly you're a sheep and then you're dead, like you want to be careful where you're teleporting around.
I have not. I've seen teleport wands. I've picked up teleport wands. I've accidentally used teleport wands, and I decided I'm not touching teleport wands for some time.
Yeah, that was
is the
my
wrong play,
experience.
I think probably in the grand scheme of things, it's the wrong.
Not
play.
even for just getting around the map, but also just for avoiding attacks and things like that. Like
You're implying a level of dexterity I don't possess. I cannot switch between wands.
I definitely
fast.
changed some keybinds. So like I made it so my first flask is Q. So every single time I want to put water on myself, I hit Q and then I start spraying up, and
Okay.
I'll jump into my own stream of water.
Yep.
And then I think I've made it R is my first wand slot, and I can press 1 as well. But that way I can actually jump around and switch, get my wand back out to hurt
Right.
things after putting like,
Right.
because the defaults just don't let you
rough.
do that very well. It's like,
Yes.
oh, I'm on fire. Let me hit 5 over here to, or like scroll.
I
through
was
to get
was
to my
scrolling.
flask.
That
And,
was
like,
that's my issue.
I was like, no, if I need to put out fire, I need to put it out now.
yes.
Like I need to like I'll see fire coming and I'll already be spraying water in the air, and it's like I may not even take any damage.
So let's go over like the tips for new players, basically. So you're saying make sure you have water. That makes sense to me. Sure.
Water is more valuable than everything early. You'll
Okay.
get to a point where that isn't true. Your life is worth more than gold.
Yep.
And if you're going to get gold in a dangerous situation, probably spray water on it
Yep.
first. Like
Yep.
if they're, or yourself. Like if you see gold in fire, make sure you're wet before you get it.
Yep.
If you see you killed one of those like slime enemies that leave toxic sludge everywhere, spray water on their corpse before getting the like life and water. Like water will save your life.
Yep.
And life is a finite resource.
Yep.
The more progress you can make, the more resources you can find with your life,
Sure.
the better you'll do.
Okay.
Like if you just take damage from everything, you'll have to go to the Holy Mountain to heal, and you may not have got the resources from that zone.
Right.
The more resources you can get, the more spells you can get, the better wand you can make, the more damage you'll do. It'll save your life in the next zone, right?
Wands are I did not realize I hadn't had a good wand until I had a good wand.
Yep.
I was using wands that would fire like pew pew pew, and then for whatever reason I got a game where I got a wand that was firing 10 times a second, and
Yeah, you can one frame ones. Like
Yeah.
So like if you get a chainsaw with like if you get a pretty decent spec wand,
Yeah.
all you need is like chainsaw, double cast, and the spell you want to cast.
Yeah.
Provided it can keep up with the mana cost.
Yeah.
And you've made a machine gun one.
yeah,
Big
I was
difference
close.
between that and like your initial starting ones.
Yes, I was pretty close to that machine gun, and I was like, oh, this is how you actually get through the game.
That is probably a very good tip for new players as well. Your bomb wand
yeah.
that's my backup wand. So if I get to the first Holy Mountain and I haven't found a better wand, I always check the mana charge speed on that. If it's half decent, I'll put my if the mana cost of my spell is too high, it won't work. But like something like Spark Bolt or Bouncing Bolt, if you put that on the bomb wand instead of the starting wand, it's suddenly a machine gun wand.
Interesting.
So like that'll be like, I didn't find anything better. I'll put Spark Bolt on my bomb wand, and that will get me at least through the next biome.
Gotcha. Okay.
The wand mechanics. There's quite a lot going on. How do I'm just in like the base stats of a wand.
Yep.
What are you looking for on a wand to? Because you've only got 4 slots to carry them. If you're finding a bunch of them, which ones do you keep?
So that is like probably most of the pressure in the game is like, do I want this spell that's on this wand, or do I want the wand base? It's like, so there's certain spells that I will prioritize over most things, like a chainsaw or a spark bolt with trigger, especially earlier. So that's like your general spark bolt, but it will let you cast a spell at range.
Yeah.
So all those spells that were like way too deadly to cast it yourself.
I did try that with plasma.
Yep.
It was almost cool, but the plasma beam kept going in random ass directions.
So if you manage to get spark bolt and then homing and then that plasma, you cast a spark bolt at range, and then it will go seek the enemies instead of pointing at you.
Yep.
Right.
There's also, are there things that change the orientation of spells? I've seen things like horizontal or...
Yep. So there's a lot of different modifiers. Like there's, linear path, which will be like, you can do it on diagonals or horizontal up and down. You know, it'll follow basically the cardinal directions and diagonals. There's spiral shots. There's true orbit, which will make it orbit your character.
There's a ping pong one.
Ping pong. Like,
I haven't seen ping
pong. Ping pong makes it go back and forth.
Which... For a lot of spells, like, don't put that on a bomb wand. Not a great time. But you put that on a luminous drill, which normally only shoots like directly in front of you, and then suddenly it shoots out like 30 meters and then comes back. So if you can get that shooting quickly, you can eat through anything. But also enemies don't like it being shot with luminous bolts.
It even made some of the like lower damage projectiles because they're constantly hitting things. Still, I mean, it was awkward as shit to use.
Yep.
But cool when it worked.
A lot of those that adjust like your projectile modifiers actually add duration without telling you they're doing that.
Okay, interesting.
So like ping pong is a good example of like luminous drill normally lasts for like the one frame, and then it's gone, whereas it suddenly lasts for like a second or so.
Okay, I've seen there's like a modifier that was bounce, and I was wondering if I had the bouncing projectile, why would I ever use bounce?
Because it adds 10 bounces.
That seems good. That seems
Does
really
it
good.
Bounce with sparkles or something?
Yeah, that's very deadly. That's very deadly to yourself, but very good. Yeah. So like something like explosive shot, if you can find that early, you can have a garbage wand and just put explosive shot on it, as provided you don't point blank shoot something.
That's my trouble is I will shoot the ground near my feet constantly, and it's not by choice. Oftentimes there's like I've killed one of those acid eyeball guys, and they've trickled acid all over the place. I don't realize it. There's a 1 pixel piece of ground floating.
It probably took me like way too many deaths. I'm not going to say how many. Way too many deaths to realize it's never worth really. Like those acid guys drop so much gold early.
Yeah,
it's almost never worth getting it because like, unless you see that all the acid is like eaten through the terrain.
Yeah,
like
acid deals so much damage.
Well, yeah, and acid will like sit between certain substances as well. So like you can have a thin layer of acid between some water and some toxic sludge, and you'll just think it's more toxic sludge, and you'll jump into it, and then you're dead.
Yeah,
like
I've sworn off the acid bolt weapon.
Yep. But acid is also incredibly strong. Like once again, it's one of those things. It's like, okay, if I can, this hurts me very badly.
Yes.
What will it do to enemies? So like, if you can get acid on a trigger that's cast away from you.
Yep. Yeah,
it's very good. But you just have
there's
to be
always
careful.
Utilities. I can definitely see utilities.
But generally my early priorities are trying to find a digging one first.
Yep.
So a way that I can dig through anything.
Yep.
And if not anything, at least in the mines, I like to be able to dig because there's gold all through the second biome. If you can dig effectively, something like energy orb will just take out huge chunks of soil at a time. So you can just like dig through the whole thing, make so much gold, get to the next biome. You can reroll your perks. You can buy all the ones you want and everything.
Okay.
So I try and get a damage wand, a digging wand, and a transport wand.
I feel a little bit like you're playing a different game to us. Because I'm like, oh, sick. I can afford a wand by the time I get to the second biome. I'm like, yes, I can buy something this time.
Yeah, before you were saying that gold that your life is more important than gold, but in all my experiences when I get no gold and have to go through anyway, you're just in a shit time.
Well, you'll normally get no gold because you lost your life and you had to go down.
Yeah.
So if you didn't lose your life trying to get that 10 gold, you may have had more life to go get an extra 100 or 200 or 300 gold. So it's all of it. It's not that gold isn't important. Your life is just more important. You generally have to go down into the Holy Mountain out of necessity.
Yeah.
It's like, and you will start rushing because you start getting damaged. It's like, oh shit, I'm low health. I got to go, right? If you can clear the whole first biome without getting hit or taking any damage, or maybe like take 20 damage, you can get down there and not even have to pick up the heal. You can save that for later and maybe clear half of the next biome and then come back up and get it. So it becomes about managing your resources, and the more resources you can get, the more you can snowball. The more you get behind the 8 ball, the more likely you are to get to the Holy Mountain, not have the money to buy any wands, or like you'll see all these spells that you want and you can't afford them. You can't re-roll your perks. You're like, and it's a downward spiral into the like.
I hear the word you're saying, but picturing getting through that first biome with only taking 20 health.
Yeah, that was like a
I'm
different
like,
game.
okay, so like a month from now, I might accidentally have managed to get that, and it'll be because I fell into the portal from this. Like I just fell straight down and into the portal. I'm like, oh, okay, I guess I'm skipping it. I have no gold.
Well, it's that whole thing of like, there's no time pressure except for the situations you get yourself in.
Yes.
So if you get yourself surrounded, suddenly there's time pressure to get the fuck out of that situation. Yep. But if you can take the time to assess something before going into it, it's like I was saying to Paul, like sometimes even in the first area, I'll like see there's a chest behind some wood.
Yep.
So I'll light that on fire. Like I'll kick the lantern into it, and then I'll go do something else, and I'll come back once the fire is out. And I'll go through and I'll get the chest. It's like otherwise. It's like I either miss that or I'd have to go all the way around to find it or something. It's like you can use
the way I play. I just stand and watch the wood burn.
Yeah, I mean that is. I mean, believe me, I've done that as well.
And then I'm hearing.
Yeah, that's the thing I was going to say.
Like,
it gets really disconcerting when like the screen's rumbling and stuff, and you're like, "What did I do? What's going on?"
Someone's throwing
over
dynamite down there. Oh, I see he's got a wand now. I'm in trouble.
I bet there's so much gold under that fire.
Enemies with wands are very, very dangerous. So dangerous. Very dangerous. Once you unlock certain spells, they become even more dangerous. Because there is a nuke spell. And it effectively will cover like a whole screen, but it also causes earthquakes. So like all the terrain starts crumbling down and fall over and stuff. So like, so if an enemy gets that, it's a bad time, especially early when like you can't live through a nuke. There's been times you come around a corner and you see your guy with a wand and you're like, oh, that looks like a cool. Oh, fuck, I'm dead.
Okay, so let's run. Let's say you've made it to the bottom.
Yep.
There's some sort of final boss.
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen it. I may never see it, but let's say I beat it.
Yep.
Does the game end? Is it credits rolling, or is it like, well, now go?
It is an option for it to end. Yes.
I mean, that's the tutorial, right?
So if you can make it to the last boss is generally very easy.
Okay.
But remember how there's those orbs of knowledge around the world?
Yeah.
Every single one you get of those makes him stronger.
Oh, nuts.
But it doesn't always necessarily, like, yes, he gets stronger, but sometimes he'll get weaknesses to things on different thresholds.
Okay.
Like, I think it's like on 11, he suddenly becomes, like, initially you can throw a flask of acid at him and he'll, like, instantly die. Okay. You pick up, like, I think 2 orbs and then he's suddenly immune to acid or takes, like, 90% less damage from it. But you go to like 11 orbs and suddenly polymorphine is very deadly to him, and then like he loses that and becomes vulnerable to something else. And like eventually, like I think at like 33 orbs or 34 orbs, which is
I think I found 3.
Well, you can get 11 orbs in your main world.
Yeah,
and then you can get 10 in the side worlds. Unless you go to New Game Plus, then you can get more.
Oh.
But like at that point, he's got like billions of health.
I've also noticed there's a hard mode.
Yeah. So
What?
there is nightmare mode. I beat my first nightmare mode run like a few days ago.
Wow.
That is fucking rough. Because I don't know what the HP scaling is, but it feels like you may be fighting New Game Plus enemies or something, or like everything is way tankier.
Yeah.
But the enemies can also have perks.
Oh no.
So like they can just have like glass cannon on them, so they'll just do 5 times more damage, or they
Yeah.
can just like there's just weird shit that they can have, like revenge tentacles and stuff, and like just
And you say you beat it, as in like you beat the boss at the bottom.
yep.
Okay. Now you said that you're working to make a son.
Mm-hmm.
Are we, in terms of the let's say the is this like a player made goal, or is this a game?
No. So
directed goal?
if you explore enough, you'll find like texts from previous alchemists, and they'll talk about the moon. So there's a moon thing that you've got to do.
Okay.
Like returning the essences to the moon. So like that essence you picked up. There's 5 of them around the world.
Yes. Okay.
So
Yep.
if you return 4 of the normal essences to the moon, something will happen. If you put the essence of spirit into the moon first, there's like something else. There's some like, so yeah, you can make a sun, but you can also make a dark sun, and there's a bunch of weird stuff out there. But there's a lot of clues in the game around that. There's quite a few puzzles in the game. Like there's an eye cipher that hasn't been solved. It's like every world has these like bunches of eyes that are like, it's just this cipher, and it's in a different location in every world and things. And it's like the community hasn't figured out how to solve it.
Okay.
It's like people have been working on it for years. And it's like they still don't know the solution to it.
So let's say you're working on the sun.
Mm-hmm.
Would you say there's sort of a linear difficulty to these, or like is there a difficulty sequence here? Like you do the bottom boss, you do something else, blah blah blah, you make the moon. Now you're working on the sun. Are there things after that, or are we talking like they're kind of, they start being sort of parallel?
Each biome does get progressively harder, I guess. Like the monsters in hell and things like that will have a lot more life.
Yeah.
But in my experience, if I've made it far enough to get to the last boss, I'm probably powerful enough to do at least explore and get to most things. And and if I've got the appropriate spells, I can kill pretty much any boss by that point.
Is there? I guess my question is there something that, at least amongst the community, is considered the pinnacle thing to do? Is there a point?
I would say that the Sun Quest is probably one of the harder things to do. Like that takes like, you will have to go to multiple parallel worlds and like and get like, you will need to be tanky enough to deal with moving a sun about, because it's not just making the sun, but you want to then take the sun to a certain place.
Do you have to kick it?
Take the sun.
What was it? Sorry.
Do you have to kick it?
You can use stuff like there's an item called the Moo, which is effectively like a little moon. So like that has a gravitational pull. Like, you can throw that at enemies and it'll like, or shoot projectiles near it and it'll spin around. So you can use that to move.
That's
move
cool.
It. Black and white holes. So like you can
White
pull
hole.
it or push it. There's like a little cart somewhere, like a little racetrack thing. I'm pretty sure that little that's right near the lava lake. There's this little like race course thing.
Okay.
But that little
Didn't see
thing
that
you can take that anywhere, and I'm pretty sure you can move the sun with that as well. I think there's maybe off the snow biome, like the third. If you go left, there will be a dark area that you can't see in. But if you've got some worm blood, you can see in there. If you go through there, there's a little there's an object in there that will let you also move celestial bodies.
Okay. I mean, okay. Most of my runs, I think my top run has probably been about an hour long.
Yep.
The what you're describing sounds like multiple days.
I think my longest run is probably about 8 hours. But that's like I'll play a little bit one night, save and quit. And,
Sure. How devastated were you when that one ended?
Like my fastest win, I think, is like an hour.
Okay.
I think I could
quick.
probably do it. I probably could do it faster now if I really tried.
Sure.
But I'd like to really take my time and just and get a lot of resources.
Okay. So, but building the sun, that's a few hours. That's not days.
That would take many hours for me.
Okay.
Like the runs I've had it are about 8 hours. I was probably strong enough to do it, but I didn't even know what was in the game at that point.
Oh, why would you?
Like-
It's hidden behind a cipher.
Like, that one's not so much
In a
behind a
parallel
cipher,
world.
so much as like even those tablets you can convert. Like if you take one of those tablets, the numbered tablets, far left. So if you go above the tree,
Yeah.
and you go across the snow biome,
I saw
and
there was
you'll
like...
eventually get to a lake.
Okay.
There's a little alchemist house there, and on the back of that, there's just a picture of a tablet. If you throw a tablet in there, you'll go into his little, like, submarine area, and there's
What?
there's like a
This
little,
is cool.
Oh my god.
and there's like a special like
The thing is-
wand in there, and like
He could be making all of this. We don't know. We really don't know.
Also, never get there. So it's...
Yeah, and then you make the sun or something. Like, oh, come on.
but you can go there pretty much from the start. You could go if you pick up a tablet and go straight to his little place. You could get his wand from the start.
Can you climb the tree from the start?
Yep.
Like all the way over?
Yep.
Okay. Because I got to the branch and I didn't bother going any higher. But
If,
I
it
did
does get
buoyancy my
harder.
way over the top by accident one time. And then
So
I saw...
because liquids are a thing, if you throw a liquid while you're levitating,
Yeah.
you can kind of do a levitate swim kind of situation
Okay.
where like you're jumping up and shooting liquids
Yeah.
above you, and it actually gives you some extra height.
I've definitely accidentally done that with acid.
Yep,
Ended the run.
because you're a little bit buoyant
Okay. Yeah. So you
by
float a little
default,
bit.
unless you take the breathless perk, which will then just like let you swim in liquids. But like other than that, you generally kind of feel like you're floating
Okay.
and you're swimming up.
I got to the top of the tree and there's like a bunch of poles,
Yep.
and then one of them had like a logo on it, like an icon, a
Yep.
symbol, like looked like a
The
ball.
the more you play, the more icons will appear. So each one of those pillars represents stuff to do in the game. So like
Okay.
you know the thing above the initial mountain, how you're like bring tablets there.
Yeah.
You may have something at the top of the tree because you brought tablets there. But if you
Yeah.
brought a bunch of different things there, then you'll suddenly get more of that pillar forming.
Interesting.
So like for every boss you kill, there will be one of the pillars will go higher. For every time you beat the game with different caveats, like I think there's ones for like beating it in under a minute or like.
Under a minute.
So I think people generally do that on daily runs because there's some daily runs that will start you like right near the end of the game. So like
Okay.
a daily run doesn't 90% of them start at the top like normal.
Yep.
But I've really early before I really understood much about the game. I joined a random daily, or like you can do it once a day, or you
Yep.
can do the daily practice, which lets you repeat it over and over.
Okay.
But there was one that's like you started like on the 5th biome kind of thing,
Okay.
and you started with glass cannon. Have any of you grabbed the glass cannon perk yet?
No, no.
No way. 50 health. Come on.
Yeah, so it sets your max health to 50, but all your spells are 5 times more powerful. And not to
So I
be
can kill myself 5
confused,
times
not to be confused with 5 times more damage, 5 times more powerful.
Okay.
So
What
that
does that
means
mean?
Does that mean explosions are 5 times bigger? or
yes,
something?
they are. That's exactly what it means. So that bomb that takes up normally like
Oh, man.
like an eighth of your screen suddenly takes up the whole screen. So like.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's very fun to play around, but it's something that I'll only ever pick up if I find it in like the 1st or 2nd holy mountain.
Why then? Because surely if you're getting it, if your character's pretty well established by 6 or whatever.
Because it says in there that your health can't be upgraded except by. So every holy mountain,
Yeah.
that heal you get in there
Yeah.
also increases your max health by 10.
Yeah.
That still works
Yeah.
with glass cannon.
But the other ones don't.
And that blood mage trick I told you about,
Yeah.
that still works because your max health is theoretically lower, and then once it undoes all that stuff, so like you can do the blood mage trick with glass cannon.
Okay.
Or yeah, that's why if you get it early, you still have an extra
5
like
or whatever.
Yeah, like 70 health that you can get from the Holy Mountains.
But the other health pickups do nothing.
Yep.
All right.
And then whenever you set off a bomb, the entire screen gets deleted.
Yep.
Yeah.
So probably,
Which still sounds like kind of annoying.
Yeah, seems bad.
I mean, yes, but you just don't use explosives until you become explosive immune, and then you can just destroy whole biomes
That's incredible.
with impunity.
Yeah.
I can see
it's
that being
like-
great for getting gold.
Yeah, or like just like one of the most fun spells in the game is rock. Like, have you found rock yet?
I
I
avoid,
I didn't
avoid
buy-
it every time. I got like, what was it? I did something. I got something that conjured gravel,
Yep.
and then
It may have just been like the soil spell.
yeah, I think it was soil. And then I drowned in it.
Yep, I did that. I've done that.
So
yep.
when I saw rock, I was like, no.
So rock, it just summons a rock, and it just does it with like a tiny bit of trajectory. And it's like early, like
Yeah.
I found unlimited spells, and so I had unlimited rocks, and I put a burst of air in there, and it shot the rock out way further. And I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
But you get homing and put that on a rock. Yeah, you've only got 3 charges, but the thing about a rock is it's always a
go
rock.
away.
It doesn't go away.
It just homes in on the
it
next
homes
enemy?
in, and then if it stops
Brilliant.
moving, you just kick the rock. And you can keep kicking the rock around, and it will start re-homing to enemies. So like one rock can clear like a whole biome. just by,
Holy.
like-
So if there's like 5 enemies on screen, will the rock just zip around hitting
oh
all
yeah,
of them?
oh yeah.
That's dope.
And I'm not sure if you realize, but like that subject of getting to the Holy Mountains and not having enough gold.
Yeah.
If you kill an enemy through environmental damage or like
Yeah, you get double.
a secondary damage,
Yeah.
you get double gold.
Yeah.
Wow.
And there's something like called trick greed,
Yeah.
which is like
Blood
trick-
gold.
And yep, there you go, blood gold. So if you get blood gold
So
with
it's 5
like
times
rock,
the gold.
like
Yeah.
suddenly all your trick kills are dropping blood gold, which heals you.
Oh, I didn't even know it heals you.
Wow.
Yeah, so trick greed is just
Ah,
double gold from
nuts.
trick kills. Blood gold is
Yep.
healing gold.
But it
And
also,
that's only from trick kills. I'm
doesn't
pretty
it
sure.
also give you like 5 times the gold?
Uh,
Blood gold, the nugget was huge and red and gave me like 50 gold.
It could have just been you killed something bigger.
That seems plausible.
So yeah, if you can get those things in combination, like a rock with homing and then trick greed or like blood gold, like suddenly you're making a lot of money or healing a lot. And
That makes a lot of sense. I have one last question, and that is wild polymorph is a thing. I don't know if it's just a liquid on its own or if it's a concoction you have to make.
so yeah, there's polymorphine and then chaotic polymorphine.
Yeah, that's what
You
it is.
can't. So that's actually a really good way to get out of the first holy mountain.
Chaotic polymorphine?
Yeah, because you can make it pretty much with most of the resources in the first biome.
Okay.
What is it? It's blood oil whiskey, I think.
Okay.
Or I think that's what. Yeah,
See,
something like that.
I had a
It's
feeling
like-
there was a concoction mechanic.
Yeah, so like if you get a little bit of blood
Yeah.
and a little bit of oil,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's whiskey. I'm
Well, I'll
not sure
Google
of what the third thing
Yeah.
is, but you can consistently get that pretty much in the first biome.
Yeah.
Make chaotic polymorphine, and then you're like, you are
I
not.
became a gun turret.
Yeah, well, you're not considered the same entity.
Yeah.
So the gods don't get angry when you leave the holy mountain while polymorphed. So if you have polymorph and you can keep it through your run, you don't
Yeah.
need to pour it out to get water.
Yeah.
You can jump, like just turn yourself into something else, jump out, get out of like there's a basically like a hitbox or
Yes.
like a box that if you jump through, that's what collapses the mountain.
Yeah.
If you go through that as a different entity, the gods don't care.
Okay. Is it feasible to polymorphine yourself into something that is better than your basic self? Like I was an auto turret, and that seemed pretty good.
So like one of the first times I did it, I polymorphed myself into a worm, like
Yeah.
the largest worm.
Yeah.
But I didn't know how to control the worm, so I just fucking went down like 7 biomes and then unpolymorphed. And it was like, okay, I've got my starter wand still, and I'm fucking like this deep, and I like instantly died. But now I realize that you can actually turn the worm, and it's like, but you can polymorph it into maybe anything in the game. I don't know,
I think
or
that
maybe there's a set limit of.
I'm now remembering. I'm pretty sure the turret I turned into was shooting sausages. Is that possible?
I don't know what the fuck you polymorph into.
Because I was
I wouldn't
launching.
say.
I was launching little pink cylinders that seemed to be floppy.
I think your auto turret was a hot dog dispenser.
It might have been a hot dog gun. This game is amazing. I'm gonna play it a lot more. I can tell, and I don't know that I'm ever gonna progress further than maybe biome 5. That's my gut instinct, but I'm gonna play a lot of it. I can tell.
I feel like the more I played it, the
Yeah.
more I wanted to play more of it. Like initially, I played it a bit, and I was like, oh, I like this.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, this is tough. And then I was like, I play a bit more, and I was like, and I discovered a little bit more and a little bit more. And
Yeah.
it's like the more orbs of knowledge you find, you read all the tablets, and you're like, what the fuck are these tablets saying? What's this? What's going
Yeah.
on here? It's like you start going into like wizard. So anytime you see like the fungal biomes,
Yeah.
just realize that wizards love drugs, as far as I can tell. Like
Uh-huh.
anywhere that there's the fungus,
Yeah.
you'll find more potions, you'll find more wands, and they'll
Okay.
be like generally good wands and things
Gotcha.
like that.
Interesting.
But have you tried? Any of you tried? Oh, you guys didn't even know you could eat.
I mean, I did. I've eaten a bunch of stuff.
Well, you can
I
eat.
didn't know you could eat.
I ate slime.
Well, you can eat the fungus,
I haven't eaten the fungus.
so
yet.
you can trip.
I've-
We haven't even
I've-
gone into tripping. So
I've
like,
Oh my
blown up the
God.
fungus and eaten the slime that came out.
So-
but I didn't eat the fungus.
so we've talked about the fact that like all the materials interact with each other, right?
Yeah.
Well, when you trip, you shift reality. And what that means is you'll turn some random substance into either a material that you're holding or a random one in the world. So you could turn all the water in the world into lava.
Okay. Is this?
You
this
can
is-
turn smoke into fire, so fire will produce infinite fire. Like
Seems
you can do
scary.
some bad shit with
Yeah.
fungal shifts.
But could you then? I mean, following that logical thread, you could turn anything into gold.
It's most if you're holding like a bag of gold.
Yeah.
It will most likely. I think it might turn everything into shit.
There is
Or
a
something
way.
like that.
There is a way to turn everything into gold, though, right?
Well, that if you beat the game, if you beat the tutorial, that is basically what happens, including
Okay.
yourself, by the way.
You turn into gold?
You did tell me about that. Yep.
Yeah, like you don't live through. It's like I'm pretty sure they're trying to tell you that greed isn't the way.
Yeah.
Because even Colmy, the last boss, he looks I'd imagine. Like as you get more perks,
yeah.
like there's perks that's like, that you spawn rats when you get hit, and then vomit turns into rats and things. But if you get all of the rat related ones, you
Yeah.
suddenly grow a rat tail. Right.
Okay.
If you get like the one that makes a little Luke, like the little spider minion, and you get the spider legs as well, like you start looking more like, there's all
Again,
these ones.
he
that's-
might be making this up. We don't really know.
and there's like ones where you collect 3 different ghosts, and you'll get like a 4th ghost following you around. There's all these kind of like transformation stuff.
Yeah.
And the last boss looks like he's effectively got every perk or something. Like he
Okay.
looks kind of fucked up. Everyone, like,
Yeah.
you'll know, like, as far as I could tell you, like, the only living alchemist. Like everyone,
Right.
all these enemies you'll find are like zombie alchemists.
Okay.
So like they, and I think it's just like, yeah, I don't know what's going on there.
There's some sort of underlying
I had this
theme.
wacky theory that
Yeah.
like you would, at some point, you were going to try and like transfer your consciousness into like another being.
Okay.
Because there's like the swapper spell. It's like, at one point it was theorized that this would swap consciousness, but instead it just
Yes.
swaps your body instead. And I was like, well, what if I do this with like in a spell and do this to like a fucking. There's these statues that look exactly like you, or there's
Yeah.
ghosts of yourself, and I was like, can I swap myself into like a different body? And I was like, I haven't fucked around with that yet, but it's
Okay.
like, I was having some wild theories out there. This is, but like because you just don't know what the fuck you can do in this game.
Yes, it is a brilliant, chaotic mess of a game. But and one where like almost immediately when I started playing it, I realized I'm only scratching the surface. Like as soon as I realized you don't just go down, you can go up, you can go to the left, you can go to right, and I started finding tablets with code. I was like, I know what I'm getting into. This is there is a lot here. This is clearly a labor of love by the devs, and a labor of madness.
Yes.
And one that like if this is definitely for a certain type of person, and I think a lot of people will bounce off of it hard, and a lot of people will get absorbed entirely.
I think if you can get past the first few hours and still enjoy it, like if you can learn to, like one of the first tablets, like there's actually a tablet in that tree. I think you need to, if you go through if you actually go under the tree into the water, you can swim up and find a tablet.
Yeah.
That one, it's like, it says something along the lines of like, sacrificing oneself in the pursuit of knowledge is like the highest praise of the gods, or something along those lines. But basically, you're gonna have to kill yourself to get knowledge. Like it's like every time you kill yourself, you're just like, yep, I got more knowledge.
Knowledge is
I learned a
progress in
little
this
bit.
game. Yeah. It's a great game. What do you guys think?
I really like it. I just wish you couldn't kill yourself in the place where you're messing around with spells. Because so much of the trying wands, trying different combination of spells just ended in me dying.
Yeah, it's a bit rough. I mean, I get it. The rules are consistent.
Yes, they are.
And so there's comfort in the consistency. But also, it felt like a bit of a rug pull the first time I'm messing around with a spell and I accidentally summon a god. And the god kills me because I was ruining his temple a little bit.
Yeah, I wasn't even... I was trying to dig through it.
Yeah.
I had a sneaking suspicion I wasn't supposed to.
The first time I did it, I thought it was just because I blew up a statue. But I think it was just because I was blowing up the whole temple.
Yeah.
And to be fair, you don't even need to be the person that injures the temple for the gods to get angry. The worms can piss off the gods for you.
And the gods are still angry at you and not the
worm.
worm.
Oh yeah, they'll just be angry in general.
I have many, many, many more questions, but we're well over time. You guys got anything?
I don't have anything. I'm going to play more of this now.
Yeah. Blake's been...
Like, for me, knowing that it's this deep...
This has been a learning experience mostly for Blake, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you're right. Like, on the surface, it does... You do feel like, oh, yeah, I know what this is.
Yep.
But then hearing all these layers that just keep going, like... It inspires me to actually play more, like a lot more of it.
And as you get to them, you'll realize the ridiculous shit you can do with wands, and you'll kill yourself even more trying to make cool wands. Like I said, it just like front loads the difficulty, and then the difficulty becomes overcoming your own creativity.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, what if I made it black holes that spin black holes around them, and then all my projectiles get spun around those, but I accidentally put piercing on that and let it hurt myself, and then I'm dead.
Yeah.
It's like, oops.
What is the best wand combo that you've created?
Like wackiest or
Your favorite? Well,
what's your go-to?
Yeah.
If you can get spark bolt with trigger, you can generally and chainsaw, you're having a good time.
But what are you triggering?
The chainsaw.
Okay.
Yeah. And what about the wackiest? What's the wackiest thing? That's also like not just killed you instantly, but you've gotten through a little bit.
Like trying to make my travel wand and a healing wand and my digging wand all the same one. So like shooting out black holes and circles of vigor and doing like long distance cast. Like you can do stuff like long distance cast deer with swapper, and you swap your position with the deer, and then it's like
The deer
there's a
explodes
lot
in
of shit.
location.
Like I know it said rough, but like you can make parallel world ones. You know, like people have worked out how many pixels it is effectively between each holy mountain in the parallel world. So
Right.
you can make a wand that will teleport you from one to the other.
Whoa.
Like there is shit out there that's like
Holy.
that effectively like spawns a monster at that location and then swaps your location with it and kills that monster, or like or just shoots a projectile.
Yeah.
Like there's a bunch of different ones out there. Like there's crazy shit out there.
That's madness.
And,
that's
like,
insane.
Or to say that like one crazy build is like not there's very generic stuff you do. Like a lot of it will just be like make something shoot very fast.
Yeah.
And then put whatever spell trigger I want on the end.
Yep.
But it's when you start doing stuff. I like trying to get black holes to like, because they'll suck projectiles in and make them spin around them. So like anything that I can shoot a bunch of black holes and then also a bunch of projectiles, and it's carrying this like death fucking spiral towards things, like is always a good time.
That's cool.
Eat your gold though.
Yeah, but I mean, generally by that point, you don't really need gold.
Yeah.
There are ways. There's like areas in the game where you can dig to and get like a lot of gold if you need to.
I'm not there yet.
Like
I'm a gold hungry
if you
little gremlin.
if you dig up and left from that UFO you found on the far right, you'll find a large square of gold. But it is you have to dig a lot to get there.
You dig up and left into midair.
Yeah, you'll have to jump a little bit first. You'll be fine.
Oh my God.
I actually, now that you mentioned it, there was a ceiling, wasn't there?
Yeah, there is a ceiling above you.
Oh, boy. Okay. Sure. All right. Well, time to commit the rest of my life to this game, I think.
Wow.
Well, thank you so much for coming on, Dameo.
It's been a pleasure.
And if you want to comment, you can comment on our YouTube page. You can email us, frontseatquestions@gmail.com.
Yep.
Or we love reading them. We sometimes reply. We always read them.
Yeah.
Not necessarily always on the air. We'll be back hopefully in a couple weeks. Bye.
What?
Bye.
Bye. That's what I normally do. Get right to the end of a game, and it's like, okay, time to stop.
Yeah, I'm always like 3/4 of the way through is when I stop.
Yep.
When I can feel the end is near.
Yeah, when the end is in sight.
Yeah, that is a weird phenomenon though. If you get like 3/4 of the way through, when you start seeing the end is near, that's when you back out. Like there's something psychological happening there, because I do it quite a lot,
I do it almost all the time.
especially with big games that I've been in for like 60 hours, and I'm like, I see the end is near.
Sometimes it's for me. It's not even that I see the end is near. It's that it'll be a game I'm really enjoying, and I'll start doing all the side stuff, and then I'll eventually, and I kind of just burn myself out before finishing it because I want to do all the side stuff, and I was like, oh, I'll go do this, and it's just like, actually, I'm kind of done with this after like 70 hours or something. It's like, should have probably just finished it, and not done all of that.
Yeah.
For Tears of the Kingdom, I was like 140 hours in or something like that, and I was doing all the shrines and exploring the depths and all the stuff, and I was like, I feel myself burning out, so I'm just gonna do the boss. And it was great. It was awesome.
Yeah.
It was a great ending.
Breath of the Wild, I put it off the Ganon fight for as long as possible. I did the expansion as well.
Such a cakewalk.
Yeah, I did everything. I was so overpowered when I walked in there, and I was like so overprepared because I was like, this is the toughest thing I'm ever gonna face, and it was like so easy, and I was like, oh, that boss of that expansion was way more difficult and way more interesting too of a fight.
Yes. Yeah. Well, the expansion is designed to be post end game.
Yeah.
Like, you did the post end game, and then went, time to do the end game.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's on you.
Yeah. It was great. I loved it, and I did want to put it off because I was enjoying it so much.
Did you play Tears?
I've played a bunch of it. I haven't.
The ending is
I haven't gotten
it's
too
worth
far.
finishing.
Yeah. There's so many games.
Yes. Yeah.
There's too many games, and with Next Fest on Steam, I've downloaded like a bunch of demos now to try, and I've been trying those. There's just too much.
Yeah, I'm kind of playing like 3 games at the moment. I can already see myself not playing one of them again.
I tried
just
that
time-wise.
I tried that one you were telling me about.
Elon? Yeah.
Just briefly, and already I feel like I experienced the exact same thing you did, where I just realized how big it was, and just closed it.
Yeah.
I didn't even get very far.
Because I played it ages ago for like a few hours, and then I told Paul about it, and then he was speaking about it. I was like, I should go back and play it, and I loaded up the same character that I did the first time. I was like, how the fuck did I get here? What was I doing? What was like, what's going on in this world? I was like, to close it.
It
was
bombards
just
you.
like too many options. It's too overwhelming. It's like, I feel like I need to spend 50 hours with it just to understand the UI and like what's going on and what I can do in any situation. Because like,
it doesn't even ease you into it.
No.
You right from the start. So it's like this pixel art 2D, like old Final Fantasy looking kind of thing.
Yeah. Is it turn-based RPG?
Is it? I never even got to combat.
No, it's real-time combat.
Okay.
It looks a bit like Stardew Valley.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you start off, you're just like lying on the ground, and some people come and they talk to you, and they give you a deed to a plot of land, and then just explain this entire like
The millennial
thing.
fantasy. Go on.
Yeah, and it explains all this stuff, all these mechanics, and then they're like, okay, off you go.
Well, no, they go, by the way, you've got a deed, you're going to have to pay taxes. Off you go.
if you don't pay tax, bad things will happen.
Yeah, and it's just a blank piece of land, and you're just like left to your own, and you're just like, what? And that's when I closed it.
See, like, I was like, oh, there's a puppy. Let me right-click it. And then I accidentally killed the puppy. And then I picked up puppy meat. And then I cooked the puppy meat. And then I fed it to a bear. And the bear loved the puppy meat. And it's like, cooked puppy meat. This is, It's
And
like,
now
you
you've
just
got a
couldn't
pet bear.
Yeah. Just do weird shit.
It sounds a lot like the stuff that can happen in Caves of Cud. But
Yes.
just Caves of Cud does a better job of easing you into it.
And that's really saying something.
That's saying something.
Oh man, okay. Okay.
The reviews for it are really good though.
Yeah.
It's worth reading, like even just the reviews.
All right.
There was a demo, that's why I'm pretty sure that's why I
Yeah,
downloaded
there is a
it.
demo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
That's
I'll
what
download them.
I played the demo.
Yeah.
And I was like, Paul, there's a demo you should play. And he's like, no, I'm just going to get it. I'm like, okay. Okay. So it's very...
I don't regret it. I only played it for like 10 hours or something. But
Yeah.
like I had a
Wow.
great time. It was $30. So.
Yeah.
That's good.
And I could quite easily play a lot more if I had a lot of time. I think
Yeah.
it'd be really fun because there's a weird mechanic where after 90 days, when you start deaths start being proper punishing,
Okay.
you can start getting like lost attributes and things. And I had one of the games I was playing where I got that far and died a few times and was like, oh, hang on, my character's like crippled.
Well, yeah, I don't know. Like, my character was some race that every time I leveled up, I grew a new limb.
Oh, what?
What?
So I had like...
Does that like Caves of Cud?
Are you sure you weren't playing Caves of
So
Cud
I
by
like
accident?
had multiple hands. I grew a third hand, and I was like, "What can I do with my third hand? Like, can I put something in this?" I couldn't see anything on the UI, but I had a third hand. I don't know what the fuck it was for, but like, yeah, there was like some
That's bizarre.
chaos creature or something, or like,
Oh, yeah.
I'm interested in this game.
Yeah.
As soon as you say extra limb, I'm like, okay. yeah.
So in Caves of,
This is territory I'm familiar with.
In Caves of Cud, Nick, his character grew.
I had like 5 or 6 hands.
Yeah.
yeah,
And multiple heads, and
It was.
I had a hand that grew off of a hand, and they have like dynamic like labeling for all these things.
yep.
So it was like left hand. It was off of my left hand. Whereas if it was coming off my leg, it would be left leg hand.
Do you think it was like a finger had branched into like a hand, like that?
I
like
assume you've got your
baby
hand,
on
and then like off of here is another hand,
just
or
another
maybe
hand.
over here. I don't know.
It doesn't show you, eh?
Doesn't show.
It just left you.
That would be
imagination.
like really inconvenient because you would effectively lose the use of the first hand.
Not in the game. In the game, they were
Maybe
both
it's just,
holding
maybe
weapons.
it's just like that, like back to back.
Oh, maybe it branches.
Like an elbow hand
Oh,
would be
just a-
probably pretty handy, you know, like having a
Yeah.
hand out of here and then your hand here, so you could like double slap someone.
Yeah, you got to hold a
Oh,
knife.
yeah.
knife in your hand and-
I like that. I got to a point where my limbs were bugging out the UI.
Oh,
so
wow.
You have like 2 slots for your ranged weapons, and they're usually just like sort of you got your main body, and you've got some floating slots, and then like 2 of the floating slots are like ranged weapons, so they don't take up normal limb space for whatever reason. But for whatever reason, because of how my body had developed, I had one ranged weapon. And then I had to scroll really far to a bunch of empty space to find the other ranged weapon.
You
It was still
broke,
there.
you broke the UI by
broke the
doing
UI.
something that the game supports.
Yes, yes,
It's amazing.
Yeah, the game's really good, by the way.
I played a bit more. I spent a lot of time fighting baboons
Yep,
and
I played-
worms.
yep.
A lot of worms.
There's a lot of worms, lots of different kinds of worm,
Yeah.
and that matters because there's a potion. If you get a fungal infection, one of the ways to cure it is like specific mix of liquids, which is randomized, and then before you imbibe the liquid, you have to eat the body of a worm type creature, which is also randomized.
Oh.
So it could be like one of those like armor plated worms,
Yeah.
like the bonehead ones, whatever they're called, or there's like spiny ones, or there's like little ones, or there's leeches. There's like psychic ones later on. I got teleported into like a sea area that was absolutely fucking wild.
Wow.
There was a mirror, and the mirror was producing mirror bugs. I don't know, man.
I really need to try out Caves of Cud.
I tried it, but
You bounced off of it hard.
It was just the
Yeah.
aesthetic, and it was just the aesthetic.
it was
You
the
wanna
menus really.
Yeah.
I just
right-click everything and
Yeah, it
select.
is.
that
It is
I
hard
just
to
don't
do.
want to do. I really don't want to do that.